Let's see it.
They were the ones that normalized streaming content. They were the ones that popularized live 2D use for VTubers and, as an extension, lowered the barrier to entry for VTubing. And aside from this, they've also made certain VTuber uses viable. They were the ones that made male EN VTubing popular. They even started the idea of branching out to other countries to start overseas branches like Indonesia. A
So they're
trend
really
that
ahead
even
of the
Hololive copied.
Really?
No
They
matter
were
your
ahead of the
opinion of
curve.
Nijisanji as a company, there's a reason why they're as popular and influential as they are. They have their own hiccups, but what company or industry doesn't? Aside from Hololive, Nijisanji is one of the communities and companies in the VTuber world where other VTubers and smaller agencies look up to and whose standards they imitate. This is the ecosystem of the VTuber industry right now, and like any other entrepreneurial ecosystem, there are two ways to go about finding general success. The first way is to do things differently, to help you stand out in a sea of semi-generic tropes and cultivating a fan base that also seeks change. And the second way is to copy what the big boys are doing, pining on the chance to attract a portion of the fans from the mainstream and utilizing your own twist. Sometimes
There's also a third one, by tearing everybody else's down and build yours up. That's also one.
it may even be plausible to outright leech from them. From a business point of view, these two are valid and are proven and tested to actually work. One of them has a moral issue, but it's undeniable that it still brings in views and money. The success of the two big forces in the VTuber industry right now, Nijisanji and Hololive, are proof of this because they evolved in the industry by doing these two routes. Hololive grew by basically doing what Kizuna Ai was doing, but with an idol twist, before also doing what Nijisanji was doing with their own idol twist again. They made online idols and VTubers interlinked with one another, creating a unique culture that a lot of VTubers in the world right now try to imitate. However, Nijisanji grew by doing something different. Instead of doing what Kizuna Ai and the rest were doing, they opted to go 2D, and in doing so, revolutionized VTubing as a whole, popularizing live 2D as the main medium for showing your avatars and lowering the barrier to entry for everyone that wants
so
to become
much cheaper
a
to have the
VTuber.
2D.
And because they were innovators in this regard, it was them that became the mainstream VTuber agency in Japan. It's these two different paths of growing that often also determines the strengths and weaknesses in the culture of the company or community. Nijisanji and Hololive are fundamentally different companies with different strengths and weaknesses, and often the strength of one is the weakness of the other. But because these two agencies are fundamentally different, they also have their own flaws that are inherent and unique in their own community and culture, consequences of the decisions they made and the direction they chose to go. Hololive has problems unique to them, and I'll be making a video about that that's similar to this one soon enough. VShojo has also problems unique to them too, which I've already covered in the past, but it's a video I actually want to remake because I feel like I've really only glossed over the surface of the company's issues in that video. And of course, Nijisanji also has its own unique problems. Problems which in 2023 has become more apparent to a lot of people. So in this video, I'm not going to tell you about the history of the company, nor am I going to list the many controversies that surrounded Nijisanji in the beginning of 2023. No, in this video, we are going to be talking about the absolute state of Nijisanji.
So everything. Oh boy. Let's go.
Now, I know I said I wasn't going to talk about Nijisanji's history, but I will have to briefly mention a portion of it to give you some context on.
Wasn't that the guy and he had to like write, like send in letters from like magazines, and he had to win like everything in his room? He had to get like a bunch of money so he could leave the game show. That's crazy.
How and why
Nobita? I think his name was Nobita. I think something like that. This shit was crazy.
Became the way they
I saw a video about this. This was absolutely insane.
First founded in mid-2017, Ichikara, the parent company of Nijisanji, was supposed to be just your everyday tech and app development company. But in early 2018, they had a certain project that they wanted to push and advertise, and that was to be their live 2D face tracking app. And the people that were supposed to show off the capabilities of their tech were none other than the 8 people of Nijisanji's first generation. But before I tell you how this debut went, let me remind you of that era's norms. See, at the time, 3D and pre-recorded content was the VTuber industry's norm. And like most innovations, going differently was somewhat ridiculed. They had faced ridicule and doubts during this time for embracing 2D. But with the curious few surprised by the VTubers' rather fun personalities and the novelty of the concept, the first gen was off to a great start. Instead of playing a video game pre-recorded, they were going on live, and their content were primarily just talking streams, giving them a more personal, relatable, and parasocial aspect to their content in stark contrast to every other VTuber. However, one among the first talents shone brighter than the others. The godmother of Nijisanji herself, the industry breaker, and the complete fucking weirdo, Tsukino Mito. Now, these VTubers, particularly Mito, exploded in popularity, so much so that only 3 months after her debut, she had already broken 100k subs. The outcome was obvious for Ichikara the moment the livers got that popular. It was a success. An overwhelming massive one, even. And that, in turn, told them one other thing. That they needed to take advantage of that lightning in a bottle. And they would do so, as 1 month later after the first gen's debut, they launched an audition call and released a second wave. 2 months later, their Gamers Wave arrived, then Nijisanji Seed, and a month after that, Voice, and another month after that, another wave, but this time expanding their sites overseas with Nijisanji Taipei Shanghai. It doesn't stop here, because they expand further and faster. But at this point, you should be able to get an idea of what they were doing. Nijisanji was expanding fast. Too fast, some critics might say. They were essentially flooding their VTuber company with a lot of members. But they were trying to be varied while going about it. A smart business decision too, because you'd have as many talents try to fill up as many niches, and thus try to acquire as much market share as you can, while also creating and fostering new sorts of communities that'll come to like your product. Nijisanji went about this expansion pretty smart. They weren't just blanket firing to see what sticks, they were actually targeting niches. The first two generations were focused on Zatsudans and shitposts. Seed was its own branch for a kayfabe-focused endeavor. Nijisanji Gamers were focused on gaming. Voice, which actually imploded within a month of its inception due to internal problems, were all male and made to target female viewers. Nijisanji Taipei Shanghai was a smart way to expand to overseas markets because the label dodged political conflicts in the two regions. They even created the Virtual Talent Academy, a course that specializes in training people to become content creators, and it's an endeavor that I think not many people give them enough praise for. And aside from that, they were making radio dramas, making music, voice acting. Without a doubt,
they were doing everything.
Something that not a lot of VTuber agencies were doing.
Oh, that's
expanding
crazy.
fast and expanding intelligently.
Yes.
They had their own little culture, big events, and wild shenanigans. They pretty much founded the interpersonal relationships and culture that other VTuber agencies were going to follow in the future, HoloLive included. But there is one thing that they failed to address as the company expanded. And it was a problem so insidious that Nijisanji struggles to shake it off even today.
What was it?
All the dramas that plague Nijisanji is an entire clusterfuck that requires its own undertaking. So I won't be making a video about all of them, unfortunately, because I don't want to dig up drama from years ago that doesn't really matter anymore.
So much shit,
In any case, as they were expanding, one has to naturally gather resources, whether human or capital, to support their endeavor. By September of 2018, mere 10 months after Nijisanji was founded, they had already 66 members. 64 if you don't include the
66 in 10 months? Holy crap, that is so many people!
After Nijisanji was founded,
bro, how can you even manage that many people in such a small amount of time?
Already 66 members. 64 if you don't include the 2 voice members that decided to quit. That is a lot of people, and it already sets the environment for one massive problem. And it is in this problem that Nijisanji found itself ever struggling. The countless drama that you've heard from the company.
Drama.
Because of this.
Management issues, management issues because they have to accommodate so many talented projects in a short span of time. Management efficiency tanks, leading to poor talent morale and productivity. Literally just like, how can you manage all these people? Talent control, massive internal issues, underfunded branches, resource overstretch. Profit priority, because they have to make up for their spending and please investors, their priority would have to be maximizing profit and cut off low priority costs and projects. So this honestly affects this, because if somebody, say a talent wants to come up with a game show, well, they have to spend money for that game show and resources. But if it's somebody that, you know, the investors don't deem, you know, favorable, they're going to say, hey, you can't do your game show, which would lead to low morale, which would make people not want to work for the company, which would affect profitability, because if somebody's favorite Oshi leaves, well, they might not want to stick around and watch whatever is going on in the company. Ooh, man, investors make everything honestly really, really difficult at times.
The company are all because of this.
It's a negative feedback loop, honestly.
Management. One of a content creator or celebrity's best friends. It allows for individuals to be able to enjoy their careers and leave the boring, technical, and tedious business stuff to someone who has studied and was trained to be able to handle it. And as a VTuber agency, a manager is the bare minimum one can give to a VTuber so that they can just focus on content creating. It allows for second opinions, plots a direction for your content. Basically, it makes your life a whole lot easier.
100%.
They take care of the talents while also enforcing the interests and guidelines of the company. Nijisanji has over 200 VTubers, and back in 2018, they had around 100. And as one can probably imagine, managing that many VTubers is going to prove hard. Difficult. And this difficulty breeds one problem that's not explicit.
These are people, like 200 people, bro. And it's like, you're a manager, you're probably managing 200 people. They're probably managing like 10 people at least, bro. At least. So that's 10 people with 10 different people with different problems, bro. Like, and having to manage that shit, oh my God, that would be so stressful.
Exclusive to Nijisanji,
it couldn't be me.
One that they've become very notorious for, and one that was actually very rampant during their earlier years. Veterans may have heard or seen some of Nijisanji's old management horror stories. A lot of Nijisanji livers basically ranted, complained, and saying that the company's management was garbage and that they didn't do anything. The Nijisanji resistance was literally built for this endeavor.
Holy shit.
A way for the talents to voice problems and issues with the company. Problems like acquiring copyright. The
and they're saying this out loud?
That got them treated as if they weren't even part of the same company. Yamiyono Maruru's tweets implying the terrible things she suffered under the company. Nijisanji India and its management's collapse. The absolute state of Nijisanji Korea's management, with entire allegations of manager-encouraged harassments, favoritism, bullying, and all sorts of terrible things that I cannot go into detail.
Harassment is something I can't stand, but favoritism is something that's honestly going to be pretty common, especially when there's so many people. Like, the easier it is for the management to work with you, of course, they're going to give you more favors and stuff like that. But harassment, I don't honestly see the point in that. You guys are working for the same company. There's really no point for you guys to be harassing each other.
Favoritism, bullying, and all sorts of terrible things that I cannot go into detail. And while I can pick apart these individual dramas and tell you the factors that led to it, they all have a common theme. And that theme is that the management was pretty bad or was almost non-existent. This is a natural result of the company's decisions. They had an offhand style of managing and essentially stretched themselves and their resources too thin. HQ's management was already pretty tough, but it was way worse when they gave the responsibility to other branch managers, especially in the VTubing niche, a field so new nobody quite understood how to make it work yet. Quality control is something every company struggles when they expand. It's difficult to retain the same kind of management the main branch has and enforce similar rules. Or hell, even find the appropriate talents that would benefit the company the best. And it gets even worse when HQ tries to implement rules based on Japanese culture to non-Japanese branches. Nijisanji, Taipei, Shanghai were the first example of this.
This probably shouldn't be your first video to watch. It's about like all the issues that go on with the company.
They were essentially what I call progenitors of Virtua Real. Whereas Shanghai, Taipei were a partnership with another company called Capsule, Virtua Real was a partnership with Bilibili. Shanghai, Taipei walked so Virtua Real could run. But this doesn't just end on Shanghai, Taipei because Ichikara decided to launch an Indian branch in 2020, whose management is the minimum for, and whom they rebranded to Nijisanji EN, only to revert it back to Nijisanji India so they can start over with their EN branch. Nijisanji India walked so Lazulite can run. Then they merged with a Korean company and were able to pick up talents like Alice Mana and Nan Bora. However, they found out later that the company's management was actually terrible. It was an entire shitfest, and fortunately or unfortunately, depending on where you stand, they were merged with Nijisanji Indonesia. And while it was beneficial for KR as a whole, ID took somewhat of a hit. It was a bit hard to swallow, especially for the Indonesian fans, because 100%. It essentially took away the branch's identity and distinction that made the Indonesian livers different and unique. There might be a thesis you can extract from all these instances, and that is the fact that Ichikara is not afraid to graduate members, disband groups, and tear down entire branches. They are not afraid of sweeping their VTubers' careers under the rug when they deem it necessary and when they're not profitable.
I was gonna say for profits.
To experiment with new projects. And if it succeeds, they stick with it.
And if it doesn't, they just throw it away.
It in the dumpster.
Which is shitty because these are real people, man.
Spit on it and light it on fire. There's a certain coldness there, and I think that's a good thing business-wise.
Business-wise, yeah,
to be able to make
100%.
cold-hearted decisions in order to thrive. But when you're in an industry where you are making fans care about your product in this deep, emotional, and parasocial way, you cultivate a community that's not going to be understanding of your decisions. It's kind of counterproductive, actually, when you think about it. I know I said earlier that Nijisanji was targeting niches in a smart way. But when they ran out of ideas and niches to target specifically,
they just started throwing shit out the wall.
Talents willy-nilly to land at least one.
Yeah, they just throwing shit.
Whole,
yeah, that's when they started messing up. Like originally expanding to niches, sure, have some strong people in these niches. People that like shooting games, some people that like ASMR, you're like, good, have those. But then when you start saying, okay, well, we want more, and you don't know what to do, and you just start hiring people, that's literally like how you fall off a cliff. Because sure, you launch 50 talents and 3 of them are profitable. What about the other ones? You wasted money on the other ones trying to get those 3. And sure, maybe one of those 3 is something really good that maybe even goes beyond the other 49 drawbacks. Even if it does, that's still like a drawback. A drawback is a drawback. Regardless if there's one that goes good, what about everything else? Because that's how you create drama. That's how you create problems. That makes the company look bad. That creates a bad ecosystem. Like literally, we just saw how the talents were talking bad about the management. Like if people start hearing that the management is bad, less people that are like really talented will want to work for you. Because if you're the best, if you're the LeBron James of VTubing, why would I go work for them when I could go work for them that treat me better? It doesn't make sense.
The model really works from a money-making perspective. Nijisanji didn't build their culture or their community to make it so that you'll watch everyone in the company, unlike HoloLive. They want you to watch only the people you like.
Yeah,
looking at it from a macro point of view, it is a decent business strategy. It's in line with their content appeal. They want new livers fast for
not for the long run
exploding. But they also want new livers so the company can rack up as many watch hours as possible, which in turn will give them more money and IP to profit from. They aren't losing any significant revenue because this business model makes it so that they can only win financially. Like it or not, it works, people. In fact, this was a model that made them so successful and very different from the big names of the industry in the first place. But just because this was a model that worked for Nijisanji HQ due to their established presence in Japan doesn't mean that it's gonna work everywhere else. Aside from the moral problems that go along with it, which we'll get into more later, there are just specific and unique factors that make it so that it's a bit more difficult to work in overseas branches, especially in ones with cultures that the company isn't familiar with. Nijisanji chose to be hands-off in managing these overseas branches because they figured that delegating the task to someone that was more familiar with the culture was better and it's just less work. But the problem therein is that the branch leaders they chose so far didn't know how to integrate Nijisanji's own philosophy into said cultures, as we saw from all other overseas projects.
How can you do that if you just keep
as long as they were pumping in money, HQ did not.
How can you even do that?
And even if HQ didn't have anything to do with what happens in their overseas branches, it's still going to reflect badly on the company as a whole, since their name is associated with the brand. There are just factors outside their main market that the suits of Nijisanji don't understand. And it's them being unable to determine these factors that made their older overseas branches tank. As for the English branch, well, we'll get to that later. Now, despite my ramblings about the problems that haunted Nijisanji, I think it's unfair for the company if we criticize aspects of their management that they've done their best to rectify. While Nijisanji had almost weekly drama back in 2018, HQ's management had acquired experience and learned to work through the hurdles that used to plague them. Back then, Nijisanji had a reputation of seeming like a black company among bystanders and even to some fans, but that perception had slowly eroded as time flew by. The Nijisanji resistance just stopped because of the company's better conditions. Their experience of handling drama and making sure that their mistakes are being dealt with before it erupts into a full-blown scandal has allowed Nijisanji to sail rather smoothly come late 2020.
Bro, if they were treating them good from the first place, they wouldn't even have to worry about that, and they probably wouldn't have had a fucking dip in 2018.
I mean, there was still drama, don't get me wrong, but it was significantly lesser and no longer much of a big deal. At that time, it was Cover Corp's turn to be shat on by the VTuber community for being so incompetent compared to Nijisanji. But a comment I read somewhere put it succinctly by saying that Nijisanji had already gotten through those hurdles back when it was still a relatively smaller company, especially in the West, whereas Cover Corp had gotten similar problems when they already were becoming a mainstream force in the EN side. And as a result, they've gotten more attention and negative press. They were simply ill-equipped to handle those problems. Problems like these would only be exacerbated too by the fact that the VTubing industry at this time was just an infantile industry. By the time these black company-esque dramas happened in Nijisanji, the industry was only 3 years old. Nobody had set the standards and set a path for them to follow.
Makes sense.
And again,
I have the hindsight, right, to see all this stuff. But at the same time, I mean, if you got 50 people complaining about management, I mean, it should be obvious there's an issue, which they did notice and they did rectify. So they no longer have that black pill fucking cloud over their head.
Kara was doing things differently from more established companies like Activate or Entom. They had no guidelines, no rules, nothing to be able to use as reference on what to do and what not to do in the industry. All they could do was extrapolate by using similar industries like the music industry or use case studies like Activate's own mistakes, but as a result, they weren't able to anticipate specific problems that were unique to the VTuber industry or their own culture. It was only natural that they kept making all sorts of mistakes. As trailblazers for the industry, it was on them to make these mistakes so that other people can learn from them. Most especially themselves.
First.
I think this is a perspective nobody gives that much thought of, but one I think is quite significant in explaining Ichikara, Cover Corp, and even older VTuber companies like Activate's past drama. Hell, right now Nijisanji is starting to slow down its rapid-fire launches, at least in EN, and their audition process actually doesn't take 3 weeks anymore, it takes entire months. They are actually taking their sweet time in making sure that
because they already have so many talents. And they already have the name, they're already established. At this point in time, you might as well focus on quality. You already had the quantity and some quality moments, and it's basically because they were the first ones. That's really it. Like, they had the quality. I mean, they had some of the quality, but they mostly had quantity, and they were the first ones to do it. So once you're the first ones, you get big. That's just how it is. But now how do you establish it? By creating something good. Like, sure, your product was okay. Now you got to make it better now that there's competition. I love it when there's competition. It always makes the consumer a happier person, usually.
Talents they debut are thoroughly
taking notes.
And would have some materials to show.
You're going to open up your own VTuber company?
Group introduction songs. I mean, they could do better.
They could.
One, management helping the talents for a direction or ideas in their debut and helping them pay for the resources, that would be cool. But hey,
our lore was written by ourselves. I had to find people who had the skills and sets needed for the graphics and animation myself and pay for them myself. By the time we debuted, I was already hugely in the red in order to plan and execute a debut befitting of a talent of such a big company. Bro, like, execute a debut befitting of a talent of such a big company, bro. Like, you say this shit like if you were like a planner, like if you weren't a talent. This is something a manager should be saying. And even then, even a manager shouldn't be paying out of pocket for a fucking debut. Like, this should definitely be something from like bigger in the company. That's crazy.
Small indie company, Purisu understand. But despite those hiccups, at the very least, it was better than how it used to be. I think Nijisanji HQ has done a good job addressing a lot of the managerial problems that used to plague them. But there's just some issues they can't escape from. Problems that started appearing when Niji-EN exploded back in 2022. Problems reminiscent of the old ones but with the EN culture's unique twist.
Okay.
Problems that in 2023 has all but made its presence known with a rather explosive entry.
Well, what is it?
Gentlemen, let's talk about the present.
What is
While I've primarily focused on the managerial problems that the company had back then, it's time to give attention to the now, most especially to Niji-EN, the effects of a stretched out audience, and the very human consequences of their cold business decisions. 2022 was Nijisanji's golden year. In fact, that sentence is the title of a video of mine that celebrated their success at the end of last year.
Okay.
They've paved another niche for the industry and popularized a new market. They've also broken multiple records and set their foothold in the and VTuber sphere and even in China, more strongly than ever. But with growth also comes setbacks, and there are just setbacks that leave a scar forever. Let's talk about drama for a bit. I myself have touched upon some of the branch's significant dramas. And despite my insistence and disapproval of being called a drama channel, it cannot be denied that the reason I got to where I am now was that I covered drama.
Yeah.
And while most of my videos...
Well, I mean, I honestly don't have a problem with drama channels if it's portrayed in a way of documenting history. So like this shit, I have no problem with. The news, okay, the news, I think the news is below this. This is way better than watching like the news. The news can be, you know, left, right, wrong, and then they have to correct it later. But this is documented like for months. I respect this way more than the news, even though I know the news takes work. But a drama channel that's not the news or not documentation would be, oh, this person said this on Twitter and then upload it. That's it. That would be a drama channel, and that shit I just can't respect. Like taking he said, she said, and then just throwing it up and saying, "Oh, I'm the news. I just throw it up." Like, bro, you have to do some investigative journalism to call yourself the fucking news.
Are far from negative drama content.
I'm biased too, yeah. You should look at it like, okay, this is what happened. I don't really have a side, and even if you do have a side, just like keep that shit to yourself. Just say, hey, this, and that. Like Philip DeFranco, he says what the news is, and then he says, on my opinion, I think this person's a piece of shit. And then keep it at that. Like, that's totally fine.
Popular videos I have, and it's what most people know me for. Me being called a drama channel by those who don't follow me closely is a label of the community I am unfortunately unable to shed no matter what I do. But why am I talking about myself, you ask?
Bro, you're part of the community.
Because it's a problem that Nijisanji is experiencing right now. Livers like Finana, Kyo, Enna, Hex Haywar, and most especially Luxium and Vox Akuma. Luxium is Nijisanji's golden goose, but rather quickly after their debut, a new fanbase gathered around them. They started to foster and attract female simps, and as a consequence of that, the air around Luxium somewhat changed. So too did their behaviors to make themselves more welcoming to their female fanbase. As they became bigger and bigger, they started to be as parasocial with their fanbase the same way the fanbase were of them. A feedback loop was created.
You know, I'm not honestly sure. How long was this video made? Like probably like what, three months ago? This is fairly recent. I haven't seen anything really parasocial when it comes to anyone besides Vox. Vox is the only one that I've seen that has done something like parasocial, like when it comes to ASMR. Like, sure, they have their moments where they say "I love you" to their fans, but you know, when I see Ike, he icks away whenever somebody like says, "Oh, like do something cute" or something like that. Like he's a shy boy. I don't know. It's
an issue that's not exclusive to Luxium and the boys, though. In fact, I'd argue this happening is more common among female VTubers to their male fanbase. But the unique problem that Luxium had was that they didn't know how to handle this female viewer base initially. They did not know how to distance themselves from their fans, and the fanbase knew not how to distance themselves from them either. Hell, even Noctix suffered from this problem despite their attempt at not being as parasocial as Luxium. After all, this was an entirely new demographic that not many big VTubers in the past had any experience of catering to. That, and the fact that their female fanbase were tossing a shit ton of money at them. At that point, it becomes hard to deny your fanbase on what they want. The attention, 100%. The money,
it's hard. Clout. It's hard. And then like we already talked about it, once they give you money, it's like, you don't owe them anything if they give you money, but at the same time, how can you not feel some type of way if somebody literally gives you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars? Like, how can you not feel some type of, that is life-changing amount of money that they gave to you on their own volition. And maybe all they want is for you to say that I love you. You know, it's psychological, and it's, you know, it's emotionally an unsafe business practice, but financially it's fucking amazing. It's hard.
That with imposter syndrome and other mental issues that the boys
had,
and it's pretty difficult to not lean on that fan base. The point is that there were a lot of factors that made it difficult.
At that point, it's about personally, how do you feel about it? Like, are you comfortable saying I love you to a random stranger that gave you money? you know, that it comes down to personal at that point.
On that fan base.
Because like the company's not going to say shit. What is the company going to say? They're going to say, hey, don't say I love you. They're giving you money. Don't say it back. Like all the company can do is just sit back and let it ride, because they can't even promote it. Because if they promote it and something bad happens, well, now they're looked at like, hey, you're the ones who said they should do it. So they literally can do nothing but just fall back.
The point is that there were a lot of factors that made it difficult for Luxium to start drawing lines against their fans. It's fair to say that they were even scared of doing it.
Of course!
In fear of the volatility of the fan base they cultivated, or in fear of losing the momentum they were gaining for the branch. Yeah. Perhaps a bit of both.
The crazy part is these same people that say I love you will be the same people that say I fucking hate you the next day if you don't give them what they want. So yeah, I understand. I'd be terrified too.
This was most especially true for Vox, who actually doubled down on his fans. But when death threats were sent against his dear friend Reimu, a happening which she had zero responsibility for, Vox finally found the courage to tell his fan base
100%.
However, he still proceeded to cater to that fan base and create roleplay ASMRs and tripled down on his parasociality appeal.
I'm not saying that this is a bad thing as a VTuber, but it does strengthen the stigma against him. Yeah, I can see that. You told them, hey, we're never going to be a thing, but I'm going to keep doing the ASMR. The thing that led to the whole issue with the death threats. It's tough. And we've already heard, I've already seen the video of Vox saying how he's a people pleaser and like it's hard for him to say no and he doesn't know what to do about it and it's tough. It's 100% a tough situation. I can't even, you know, I can't even be like, oh, Vox, you should do this or you should do that. Like people that think they have the answer don't have the fucking answer. This is down to a personal, does Vox feel comfortable doing the ASMR? Apparently he does feel comfortable doing it. That's why he keeps doing it, even though it was a problem. So the only thing you could really say is, before the ASMR starts, hey, I am not your boyfriend. We are not a thing. This is only for entertainment. See it as face value. Do not take it anything seriously. Do the ASMR. When it finishes, I'm glad you guys have fun. Remember, I'm not your boyfriend. We're nothing serious. This was just for fun. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the content. That is literally all you could do and all that could be done in a situation like Vox Akuma's.
Going full ham.
Because people on the internet are wild. So like they'll hear you say, hey, he's not my boyfriend, but he's still doing the ASMR. So they're going to say, he must be my boyfriend. So that's why you would have to advocate and still say, hey, I'm not your boyfriend. Even doing that, there will still be like 5 crazy people will hear it and they'll be like, okay, he's still my boyfriend. And then you do the before the ASMR and after. Now it's only 3 crazy people. Hey, you eliminated 2 crazy people that finally get it that they're not with you, but there's still 3 crazy people that still think you're with them. It's a crazy place.
Friend experience. And it is in this action that gained him the stigma among non-Vox Akuma fans that he's just a thirst-posting Fujo baiter that only caters to horny women.
No way! They're fucking tripping, bro. Vox Akuma's cool as shit. His content's amazing and it's funny. It's not made for just women. It's made for everybody, whoever enjoys it. He's a crazy British guy that swears and has fun and he makes gorilla fucking noises. Like, yeah, those are literally people who don't watch his content that would say some shit like that.
For money.
You're an idiot. You're an idiot.
He's actually quite a talented entertainer in general.
Thank you.
It's this action to follow that reversed the impression that a lot of people had of Niji-en and Niji-en fans.
High Mistakes just wanted to remind you all not to waste real money that isn't an ARS on Mista because he doesn't possess human empathy. Mocks sexual harassment victims and will never ever apologize because he cares more about his ego and owning 13-year-olds on TikTok than the victim he hurts. Bro, Mista doesn't fucking hurt anyone. And you donated 3,000 to say that. So thanks for the money and thanks for showing everybody that you're an idiot.
Fans. The consensus on Niji-en pre-Luxium days were that Hololive were the more insane fan base due to its association with idol culture, while Nijisanji, since it's more general, was more chill. Yet all of that turned around in the blink of an eye. These days, the gachis of both fanbase have roughly the same amount of lunacy, especially when it comes to things that their precious
lunacy is correct
cannot and should not do. Just that Hololive members infuriate men and Nijisanji infuriates women. And even though that this was something that excluded the Niji-en girls, people just can't help but generalize. In any case,
generalizing is not a good thing.
Had found themselves in a situation where everyone that does not regularly watch them started thinking that they were nothing more but Fujo bait. Me personally, I think there's nothing wrong with Fujo baiting in moderation. I mean, hey, if Hololive girls can Yuri bait...
This is what I like to see. Like, he's talking about documentation, and then he advocates and says his personal opinion, and then he keeps moving on.
Why are we...
This is exactly what I like.
Mocking men for gay baiting.
I like this shit.
But
speak your opinion, but let everybody know, hey, this is your opinion piece. This has nothing to do with the fucking evidence.
This is how powerful impressions are on people. One's opinion, perception, and feelings for something can turn with just one action, with just one drama, with just one simple event,
just one,
even if such impressions goes against their better judgment. And this is going to be an important theme for the video going forward.
Okay. Let's hear it. Part 3, opinions shifting against Nijisanji EN. Okay, let's
I want to expand more on the impression that people had for Nijisanji before they got this popular. Nijisanji had a rather favorable opinion in the eyes of VTuber fans that weren't exclusively watching Hololive. While a lot of tribalistic Hololive fans had the opinion that Niji EN wasn't really even a competitor, those that cared about his tribe had a
They're all competitors. They're all getting views. They're all competitors. Regardless if you think the views are a lot or not, competitor is a competitor.
Really positive opinion of the branch. They had the impression that they were the underdogs, and 100% they were. The general VTuber fanbase and even some Hololive fans themselves had the impression that Hololive culture had a sense of restriction, inauthenticity, and strict regulation, as if their priority was maintaining this absurdly clean idol image instead of pursuing content that stretched the borders of art and entertainment. Meanwhile, Niji EN were more free. A lot of the things that were off the table for Hololive members, such as the freedom to collab with anyone easily, ability to address and say certain things, and all sorts of content ideas weren't a problem to the EN livers. Niji EN didn't have the negative connotation and the toxic traits associated with idol culture. They were a blank slate.
They were able to do whatever,
haven for VTuber aspirants to create something new.
And say
a place where a balance of clout and freedom was achieved. Which was why when the collab of Ollie in Holo ID and Selen of Niji EN was cancelled, backlash followed suit, and most pointed their fingers at Hololive for stopping it. But when a lot more collab opportunities came up, it seemed more and more to many people that it was actually Niji EN's management stopping the collabs from happening in the first place. Now, this
why Celine always gets shitted on, bro? First is the Oli, then she can't do the freaking the art contest shit, and now she can't arrange events within the fucking Niji, EN, and JP. Like, damn, bro, why do they, like, come on, man. Let Celine spread her wings and fly.
A restriction drama was resolved some time ago with Regis and Alban's significant collab, and while there was no confirmation on which side actually stopped the collabs in the first place, the impression still remains that it was Nijisanji doing it. I wanted to bring this back because, like I said, people looked at Nijisanji as the underdog, and the collab ban highlighted the idea of Hololive culture bad and Nijisanji freedom good that ran rampant among many people. It was an impression that was very popular among Nijisanji fans.
They both have their pros and cons.
However, soon enough, that impression changed, as I've said. It seemed more apparent to many people that it's not that Nijisanji had more freedom, it was just that management was severely lacking. Take for example, the Millie Secret GC drama, where other Nijisanji members were pretending to be 4chaners and exposed themselves to the public that 4chan lives rent-free in their heads. After it got quite some backlash and Millie addressed and reaffirmed that it was supposed to be a joke, some people didn't see it as a joke because acknowledging trolls and antis even in a satirical setting would only embolden them. FOMO and Blista distanced themselves from this due to the lack of communication and that it made them uncomfortable. After this, Millie clarified that she actually did do the groundwork to let people know that the stream was happening. But evidently, not everyone...
It wasn't enough. Not everybody's going to get the joke. Just like with the awkward tattoo, not everybody's going to understand that it's just a joke. Some people will take it and see it farther than what it really is.
After that,
dangerous game to play, Millie Parfait, but you still out there.
Millie was unable to stream for a week, and it was speculated that she was actually stealth suspended. And for quite some time, this was supposed to be just speculation. But it was just recently confirmed that stealth suspensions were real and was put under the guise of a temporary break. Which reflects bad on the company if that was truly the case of what happened to Millie. Stealth suspensions make it so that no official announcement of any EN livers are going to be 100% trustworthy.
It sweeps it under the rug, but as soon as somebody uncovers all that dirt underneath the rug, Can't use the rug ever again.
Anymore.
Where's
People
the
are
news?
going to have to question every mental health break or similar forms of disappearances from the livers now. This agency just showed that they have absolutely zero transparency
news?
and aren't honest at all.
Let me know when it drops.
And back to the Millie drama. This kind of stream idea is the kind of thing that managers should be watching out for, and somehow they did not. Instead, if her being stealth suspended after this whole thing was real, why suspend her? Well, yes, it was kind of a short-sighted thing for Millie to come up with. This was mostly management's fault for letting it fly. It is management's job to monitor their ideas, or at
Millie flew too close to the sun.
the very least ensures that the stream goes smoothly. That at the very least, there was some semblance of communication with everyone else. These people failed in their obligation to watch over what the hell their talents were doing, and they're punishing the talents for their own negligence. If one's management style is hands-off, at least make sure that those under you can coordinate and properly communicate. But with a roster as large as Nijisanji EN, such a thing may not be so easy. You can have talent freedom, sure. You can have a hands-off approach, sure, but make sure that you're managing the talents when it matters.
Yeah,
Putting specific restrictions, despite its bad connotation among many Vtuber fans, isn't necessarily a bad thing. They are there to protect the talents in the company.
Yeah.
But for some reason, Nijisanji's restrictions were placed on very asinine things that actually don't matter. Like banning handcam streams for a time, them not allowed to play their own genmates' songs, or even talk to a manager that's not the one assigned to them. Hell,
oh, fuck no, dude. Oh my God. Look, there's a reason why in real life, if you do not like your lawyer, you can go get a new one. There's a reason why if you don't like your doctor, you can get a different one. There's a reason why if you're having an issue at work, you should be able to talk to somebody else outside of work that is in charge of the job that you're working at. Because corruption will breed if you do not let people see an outside resource. Oh my goodness. Oh shit.
They don't even want Selen Tatsuki to reward her own fanbase monetarily in her own competition. Like I said, very dumb and very stupid restrictions. The thing about VTuber companies in an industry that requires greater reputational standing in order to garner public trust is that restrictions...
The court of public opinion matters a lot when it comes to this shit.
...are all but
your whole job is an entertainment. If the people do not like you, bro, you will not succeed.
...reputational standing in order to garner public trust...
Unless people hate you so much that people will end up liking you to support you because you're so hated.
...is that restrictions are all but inevitable as they grow. Now that they are big and mainstream, and they've experienced their fair share of controversies too, the words and actions of their talents hold more weight now more than ever. And because of that, I think the company has to think about their reputation and restrict certain things. Whether Niji EN's management learned from these yabs is something we've yet to see,
Mr. made a
because
COVID
it doesn't
joke?
seem like they learned anything at all. That being said, there's also one other problem that the management has been very blatant about.
That's probably why
and one that many fans take issue with. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about favoritism.
Okay, oh boy. Let's hear it. Favoritism and neglect. You're right. You're totally right. I totally forgot Japan does shit differently. You know what? They might not do that shit in Japan. You totally right. They might not. You right. That was a Western fucking comment. My bad.
The thing about Nijisanji's waves and units. They want to help these groups
who knows Niji managers. You're right.
And be something far beyond just members of Nijisanji.
No accountability.
When people see Nornis or Cronoir, they don't want people thinking of Nijisanji. They want them to be their own independent thing.
Wait, what? She died?
The same principle applies to Luxium. When people hear the word Luxium, they want them to be more than just the male VTuber group under Nijisanji.
Of course.
They want them to be beyond that, and while making as much money as possible.
Yes.
With the popularity that Luxium has garnered, demand skyrocketed, and their popularity actually poured over to other talents as well. It is undeniable that Luxium was the reason why everyone in the branch started to get some kind of traction in the first place. A rising tide lifts all boats, after all. People wanted more, and they were willing to pay for it. If Vox's super chat revenue a month after his debut said anything, it was that this new fanbase was something else. However, this new fanbase also primarily only wanted the boys, and Nijisanji was all too happy to give them what they want. As more and more merch, events, and all kinds of company
they're making the most money.
Luxium received, It started to feel as if other members, aside from those who orbited the boys, were getting left behind. Luxium was only a few months old, and they started having more merch variety than literally every single member that preceded them.
Bro, we talked about this months ago. We talked about, hey, you're in a company and you might not think that your competition with your gen mates and whatnot, but to the company, you are. You look at the numbers, you look at one person, you look at the next person. Who do you think the company's going to pick? The person with 2,000 viewers or the person with 5,000? Like, it sucks, but that's how companies work.
Not just merch variety, but more merch releases too.
100%.
Management really only half-assedly implemented new products for non-Luxia members just because fans couldn't stop complaining about it. And hell,
and they should. The fans should. They should 100%. Support your Oshi. If your Oshi's not in Luxium, support them so they can get their chance to shine. Everybody deserves a chance to shine, not just the people making the most money.
Merch was so uninspired, low quality, and lazy, people would literally throw shit at the company for blatantly trying to siphon as many cheap and easy bucks as they possibly could.
And that's terrible, because if they actually made a good product, more people would buy it. And then they would still have that good faith. But no, let's go ahead. Hey, let's make this for 50 cents and sell it for $10. And then when that thing breaks, everybody, this shit's cheap. Don't buy this shit. It's cheap. They're just trying to make money, blah, blah, blah. Only the diehard of diehards is still going to buy the merch. But everybody else with a brain's not going to.
That any objectively terrible merch item they put up on their store was still going to sell really well. It was an absolute disrespect for the audience's money and intelligence. However, unfortunately, they had a good reason to disrespect the audience's money and intelligence, because the piss-poor quality merch that Nijisanji made still sold really well.
Yeah, it still sold well. Yeah, just like in the gaming industry. Oh, we don't want DLC, we don't want fucking half-baked games, we want our games to work. Madden 24 comes out, everybody buys the shit, record sales. Call of Duty comes out, record sales. Of course, you say, I'm not going to buy it. There's 5 other people that will. So yeah, it makes sense.
Piss poor merch issue is one that'll persist.
You vote with your wallet, not with your fucking mouth or your Twitter fingers.
The company doesn't even see it as an issue. They see it as an exploit. And this makes sense, because the talents only get 1 to 2% of their merch's profits anyway. With that in mind, of course they'd want to pump out more Luxia merch. It was literally an easy money hack. They didn't want to deliver quality products, they wanted easy money so they can make that income report look the best it can.
Yep.
In any case, the favoritism for Luxium was very evident.
Oh boy.
One that carried even to their projects. When Luxium teased Jazz on the Clock, there was this week-long song and dance about it on Twitter. They hyped it to an
a week-long song? Holy
but
shit.
When did management ever promote the other group's project to a similar extent? This was a controversy that drove a wedge between other members' fan bases. Because although Nijisanji is doing its best to maximize profitability, there was a capitalist and moral problem in doing so. Just because people know that it makes sense business-wise doesn't mean that it won't feel like shit for the fans of other livers and the other livers themselves. The favoritism problem started to highlight the morally darker aspect of the company's very successful business model, that a significant number of livers inside the company cannot even receive a fraction of the rewards and a whole slew of other favors that the big boys receive. It's not Luxium's fault, don't get me wrong. It's not like they asked to be the favorites, but god damn does it feel bad. The favoritism issue reiterated to the fanbase that Nijisanji again is not afraid to remove anything or anyone that isn't profitable. After all, it's the consequence of their business model. If you're throwing a lot of stuff to see what sticks, some aren't going to stick at all. And if they won't remove a talent, or the talent chose not to be removed, they'll most likely be neglected.
Just shelf them.
And whether the talents put up
like
with
the
it
music
will
industry,
be all
they do the same thing.
them. It saturates the already existing fan base and breeds envy, sadness, or feelings of unfairness in a lot of people. Not just from the fans, but also from other livers, like I said. In fact, this was a sentiment that other livers kept echoing multiple times as it happens. And while hierarchies like these are actually a very common sight among multiple companies and communities, remember, you are in the Vtuber industry.
Welcome back.
An industry that has you making people care about your product in a deep, parasocial, and emotional way.
That was earlier
and such
in the
people
video.
are inherently more biased to their individual Oshis rather than the companies they are in most of the time. So if their Oshis aren't benefiting from the Nijisanji renaissance that Luxium created, then to them, such renaissance did not happen at all.
Yeah.
Even if Nijisanji didn't do anything technically wrong, because they seem like they are quite open to the fact that a liver being neglected is a possibility, the fact that it's still even a possibility is what pisses people off. What makes VTuber aspirants want to join Nijisanji is the clout they'll receive and management. But if they can't even get that much attention due to the saturation and possible neglect they'll experience, then what's the point?
Why sign up? Yeah.
If they can't even get good management, then why join in the first place? Is it still worth it?
It's just the cloud at that point.
Being in Nijisanji anymore? I mean, I imagine it's...
Yes, like, even though they have all that BS going on, yes, I would still say being, like, it depends on what you want at the end of the day. Like, if you just want to get clouded up, join a big ass company and then fucking dip, there you go, you got your clout. But if you want to do something like make a difference, like some people want to make a difference. They join to be a VTuber. Either they want their own community or they do want to make a difference. They want to make a lasting impact on the scene. Then that's when they would choose who to go. Like I literally said earlier, if you're the fucking best and you're like, I got all these great ideas and I know how to make it happen, you want to go to the best company for you. But if you just want clout, you'll pick anybody. That's literally how it works.
Still worth it to a lot of people. A small amount of clout is better than no clout. Some management is better than no management.
Yeah, or get closer to your own.
At this point, it's hard not to feel like you got cheated. So,
but even then, you don't even have to be in the same. Like this ain't like 2018. You don't have to be in the same company to be friends with these people anymore. You could join a Hollow or a Vishojo or whatever and still be friends with your Nijiyoshi, which might be even better because now you're doing stuff over here and you're working with them over there and it's cross-pollinating.
Dream that wasn't as grand or profitable as the company or its
the management says it's okay.
Fans made it to be. And in that case, people are going to have to remove the rose-tinted view of what it means to join Nijisanji. Because really, perhaps it's not as great as what most people think it is.
Of course not. It's a fucking big-ass company. Like, if you're joining a big-ass company, prepare to be treated like a fucking product, okay? This is not a small startup where the CEO is literally in the next office and he's cool with you. If you're working at McDonald's, do you expect to be treated fucking amazingly? No.
This
Come
is a
on.
huge part of what made people turn their backs on Nijisanji. People are starting to notice the problems that the branch has. They're waking up to the company's profit-driven goals and its underlying moral problem. From all the yabs, from the actions of its talents, from the consequences of management's exploitations, Nijisanji's magic is dying. Again, people may understand that the business model works or that the favoritism is a natural consequence of the fact that they want to make as much money as possible, but just because it works for the company, just because it's profitable, doesn't mean it feels right. Like I said, there's a moral problem here, and it doesn't seem like management gives a shit on what people say.
That's what it looks like. Trailblazing. Fan-base problems.
With Niji
Tribalism.
growing rapidly, it was natural that drama was going to happen that involves their fanbase. And just like the gachis of HoloLive, they were going to be put under a microscope for the internet to tear apart and study.
Here we go.
Again, one such example is the Vox and Reimu drama. Another is Mista's fanbase having issues with Mika just because they're good friends. And another is Uki's own mods power tripping, thirst spamming, and gatekeeping Uki from his own chat.
What?
Since their community was
what? When the... Oh, hell no, bro. If I mod you and you go power crazy, you're fucking banned and I'm putting you on a fucking poster. Say, don't be like this dumbass right here.
Thirst spamming and gatekeeping Uki from his own chat. Since their community was growing, new fans that aren't familiar of the general VTuber culture flooded the Nijisanji community, and what came naturally was of course chaos and most especially tribalism. With the explosion of Luxiem, HoloLive tribalists felt threatened that the spotlight of their favorite VTuber company was getting stolen from them. Meanwhile, Nijisanji tribalists who saw the Liver's numbers beat HoloLive's for the first time in a while thought that this was going to be a turning point. And for new Nijisanji tribalists who didn't know about HoloLive aside from the naysays of their own hug boxes, more tribalism would be fostered as a reinvigorated disdain for idol culture and HoloLive talents would begin to surface. This was both caused and amplified by the Discord leak drama.
Council didn't do as good as they expected and Luxiem became massive. Seems they're a little scared. I heard about this. I heard it was a joke though.
That had the EN
I heard it
Ivers
wasn't
seemed
real
like they were
life,
trash-talking
like real
Holo
shit.
Council, which led to Kali unfollowing some Nijisanji
I heard
members.
it was just a joke.
And while this situation
It ain't a good joke.
was
but,
presumably resolved internally, as we've seen from Kali refollowing some of them back, the more invested Hololive fans haven't forgotten. And for better or worse, they aren't the kind of fan base that forgets.
Yeah,
Salome's
they'll flame your
explosion
ass.
also bred more of these tribalists, believing that she would
Hold on, time out.
that
Time out, time out.
Salome
How did this little worm beat the big worm?
also
I know how this game is played. You're supposed to get bigger and eat the smaller worm. How did she do that?
bred more of these tribalists, believing that
What
she
the
would
fuck?
be the
She
Gura
hacking.
killer. Both Ailuna
The
and
Gura
Tempos
killer.
debuting at
You
the
hear
same
this shit?
time also lit some
The
sparks.
Gura killer.
However,
What the fuck is this? Bro, these aren't products. These are people. There ain't no motherfucking Gura killer. Ain't no fucking Voxakuma killer, bro. These aren't like they are a product, but these are fucking people. They're not fucking World of Warcraft. We're not waiting for the next MMO to come out to be the WoW fucking killer. We're not waiting for the COD killer. These are fucking people. Like, some people have good days, some people have bad days. Like, come on, man.
Hololive fans, especially the veterans, weren't just scared and threatened that Holo EN finally had some noteworthy competition. They had one other reason to feel a great disdain for Niji EN for, especially the boys. And that reason is China. See, Luxium got really big in China. Hell, Vox's debut in Bilibili got him around 1 million yuan, and naturally, that got the boys to cater to them in a way that they felt appropriate.
It's pretty fucking
Management even joined in and capitalized on the development.
Hey, Billy stream coming fucking soon, guys. Hey, hey, that's pretty fucking good.
Getting them to make their own Bilibili accounts, adjusting their content to be inclusive to the Chinese, and all sorts of things. And it is a smart business decision, and one that I actually
it is a smart business decision, but China's pretty sensitive. You say the wrong thing, you're fucking out, buddy.
don't think is an invalid decision to make. But people didn't like the extent of their pandering. As an example, Vox was in hot water for making a thumbnail using a Taiwanese artist's art and editing China's flag into it. It was out of ignorance, but it's still bad optics for Taiwanese and EN fans.
Ooh, you see what I'm saying? Ooh, it's hot water, bro. Just simple as that, a fucking thumbnail, bro, and you're in hot water, bro. Oh,
in any normal circumstance, this wouldn't have riled anyone up.
Oh,
VTubers and VTuber companies engaging in different cultures in the hopes of connecting well with their fan base there is a good thing. Uniting the world through waifus and husbandos.
Low-key, you should. I mean, I really don't see an issue with them wanting to branch out, especially if the money's good. Sure, branch out. I don't see no reason. But you should definitely branch out for the fans. Because if you're just branching out for the money, as soon as that money closes, you got to look at everybody that you left behind and say, hey, I'm back, guys. And a lot of people ain't going to really fuck with you after that. So you should definitely do it for the fans. But keep it inclusive for everybody, not just fucking pander to one side.
Isn't that what companies like Hololive and Nijisanji claim their objective is? Hell, that's the reason why Hololive got so big in China and the rest of the world back in 2020 in the first place. But this wasn't a normal circumstance, for you see, China's reputation in the EN sphere is rather delicate. Not just because they are in a tense political dissension with different nations around the world, but because they have wounded the Hololive
Was it a good
community.
joke?
They were responsible for the hate campaign against Kiryu Coco and all the deranged anti-ing that Hololive experienced back in late 2020 and early 2021. Hell, for a long time now, China was the reason why people thought Nijisanji was blocking
Probably. Basketball is very popular in China, so I wouldn't doubt it. And James Harden is a big name in China because he's played over there a lot of times.
Hell, for a long time now, China was the reason why people thought Nijisanji was blocking EN collabs from happening in the first place. But in Niji EN's defense, the same demographic that harassed Coco back then wasn't the same demographic that Niji EN catered to. The people back then were male Chinese fans who liked Hololive and idol stuff. Meanwhile, Niji EN attracted a female fanbase that doesn't even heard of Coco before. I'm sure there is some small percentage of overlap, but I also imagine that number isn't significant enough. There's a nuance to be had there. Just because they are from the same country doesn't mean they are from the same crowd. However, one can't deny the different sets of what is considered appropriate from this new fanbase can be somewhat disruptive, especially if they are unfamiliar with the culture around VTuber.
Sensitive.
It was primarily the Chinese fans that were sending death threats to Reimu and caused that whole drama. The parasocial Mista drama with Mika too. Again, I'm not saying that them catering to China is a bad thing, just that it was a factor that divided the EN fanbase. There's also one other thing. Aside from the Chinese fanbase, Luxium attracted the Twitter crowd, a demographic on the internet that is the reason why Twitter's got quite
Did they not have a fucking Twitter following before this happened? Am I missing something? Like, what was? Well, yeah, VTubers didn't get big till 2020, so I guess it would make sense.
Attracted the Twitter crowd, a demographic on the internet that is the reason why Twitter's got quite the negative reputation. They have established a fan base that politicizes a lot of things that they do, even if there's literally nothing to be politicized about. Sonny being a cop? Oh god, Nijisanji is so insensitive. Don't they know police brutality is a thing?
V-tweeters.
Nista mispronouncing a character's
Shut your bitch ass up.
Name? Oh god, he deserves to be harassed and actually hard-doxed for being so uneducated and being so insensitive and racist to that particular culture. I could name more. Like, Zion getting her address, ID, and dangerous personal info dropped by other Nijisanji fans during her suspension. Kind of more.
She has been doxxed down to her home address, name, face by those expressing malicious intent. This happened right after her indefinite suspension on February 9th was announced, and Nijisanji did not communicate that it would take action against the doxers. There is substantial video and writing proof that threats included death and swatting. However, links will be omitted for legal reasons. What the fuck?
Dangerous personal info dropped by other Nijisanji fans during her suspension.
Bro, how can you call yourself a fan of Nijisanji and you out here potentially putting one of the talent's lives in danger? How the fuck can you be a real fan, bro? That don't make no sense.
Kind of
what the fuck? I can get it. You don't have to like everybody, right? In Nijisanji, you don't have to like them all. But to like knowingly attempt to put one of their lives in danger, what do you think your Oshi's gonna do when they find out that you were gonna actually like potentially get one of their people hurt? Even if they don't fuck with each other, like work-wise, how do you think they're gonna respond? They're gonna be like, oh yeah, great job. What the fuck kind of shit is this?
Again, these are not a good look in the eyes of the general community. VTubing was supposed to be this comfy place where people can just enjoy waifus and husbands. Escapism is one of VTubing's main appeal. And this small but loud portion of the GEN's fanbase
I ain't gonna lie, if you're going to Nijisanji EN, you probably shouldn't go for escapism. That's one of the things I wouldn't go for EN for. Like, if you want escapism, I feel like you're better off like maybe in the JP, because they I don't even know, like I don't know. Honestly, I don't really know anybody that keeps like that shit like for real, like the lore and all that. Like, they seem like normal people, except they just VTube and have like lore and shit.
Disrupted their space.
I don't know.
This is a key reason.
I think the escapism, like, you gotta go for like the GF experience for that shit.
Nijisanji fans, with people being given the impression that they'll rile things up and associate simple actions with a culture war or politics, even if it's just a big fat nothing burger. It is similar to the behaviors of Hololive fans when they subconsciously hold their talents to follow in the idol culture and not interact with
this. Exactly. I feel like you would see more of that in Hollow, but even when I was thinking about saying you should go to Hollow for the fucking the lore and the immersion, I'm thinking about the EN girls and how they just have fun. Like, how they don't even really care about that shit. They just having a good time, and they just so happen to sing and dance too. So I don't think EN is really the place for. I can't name anybody, honestly, off the top of my head when it comes to EN. Like, you have to go to JP for this shit.
Men or whatever.
For the immersion.
But instead of idol culture shit, the GEN has to deal with parasocial and political shit. In that aspect, while the reasoning for both fan bases are different, their behavior is roughly the same. Again, the Niji-en fans that were part of this discussion were seen to be different.
They do the same type of stuff
than the unhinged idol fans of Hololive. But with all these little reactions and controversies going on,
but y'all motherfucker y'all are unhinged too in the fucking EN. It's not just the idol culture people that are unhinged. Apparently, you guys are unhinged as well.
Was that really true anymore? Of course, I recognize that all of these fans are just a small, very vocal minority.
Yeah, very.
Similar to how it's also just a small and vocal minority of Hololive fans that complains whenever their Oshis aren't being very idol-like and collabs with a male.
Oh, that's so cool! She's cheering for fucking Regis on a TV, dude. That's so cool.
Whenever their Oshis aren't being very
that's
idol-like.
Cool. I like to see that. Support one another.
Yet
I love
it doesn't change the fact that the sight of these very loud weirdos will still burn a negative impression or enforce an already existing stigma against Nijisanji, its members, and its fanbase. That's just how unfortunately the internet works. People only hear drama and will immediately assume things just for the sake of having an opinion. And usually, people assume the worst. But with VTubing exploding further in 2022
Hey, look,
and
it's
having its
Rev.
own set of content creators,
Congratulations on the
VTubers,
marriage.
word of all these drama reached far and wide, and you have a lot of people to
Hey,
thank
look,
for
it's
that,
Kyo.
including me.
Wait, whoa, hold on. What the fuck? So just a bit of an update on Central. The reason Nijisanji is striking my videos is because I'm using their VTuber models in my thumbnails. These avatars were meant to represent the talents and creators, no different from people using other views. They want to remove my content because of copyright. No other reason why I have to remove the video. Discuss unfortunate situation. Okay, this is something YouTube needs to address. 100%. Like, bro, like these Japanese, like the Japanese law and the US law is not the same. And this is exactly why YouTube stepped in during like some call me Mark. He used to make Dragon Ball Z videos, but they weren't like the actual videos. He would make like Dragon Ball Z what ifs. Like, so what if Frieza raised Goku and stuff like that? It's nothing like legit to the actual show. It's its own thing. Yet Toei Animations copyright striked all of Mark's videos and had his whole channel deleted. But he had such, like, everybody came from the YouTube, like, fan base from every, even if you didn't know Mark, your favorite YouTuber was probably saying, hey, we need to support this guy because this is important. And they came together and they got his channel back, and YouTube made a rule. It was something like, oh, if you're Japanese law and you're trying to go against a person in the US, like the law doesn't really work this way or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but they basically got his channel back and pretty much solved issues like this, at least for the meanwhile. We'll see.
Actually, I damn well know how you guys want your drama fresh from the oven, you absolute bastards, but that's not the kind of food that I serve. I cover my drama from a more autopsical and specific sense, only talking about it once the drama is over and deconstructing it from there.
That's what I
but
like
fear
to see.
not, because there are no...
He doesn't get the clicks of the drama like, hey, this just happened. He doesn't get those clicks. What he gets is the people like me that come back like, oh, what was all this shit that happened in the past? A documentary. So that's why Depressed Nosaji will have longevity, while the news people, they will have to constantly make new news shit just to stay afloat.
Notorious individuals that are essentially the newsman of...
But that's how news works. So
reporting such events as it occurs. Drama fresh from the oven, just like how you people want. These are the loudest mouthpieces of the community's yabs and occurrences. And whether you think they are bitches or not, they actually have their own space in the community.
Yes.
However, because of the inherent nature of these types of content affecting these agencies' reputation negatively, these agencies would rather them be silent about their yabs, wouldn't they?
Of course.
So Nusagi, you stupid rabbit, I hear you ask, what did they do to make sure that they preserve or even improve their reputation among the community through these newstubers?
Streisand effect by trying to take everything down and silencing it and making everybody look that direction because you're making such a loud noise.
Did they do something wild and cool that these tubers would report about it and praise them? Did they fix some of their problems substantially to make it so that these tubers would actually be able to notice and make a video about it or something? Well, how about abusing the copyright system and silencing them?
Streisand effect.
Obviously, that's the best way to rectify the reputational damage that the company has already accrued over the months. No. So follow me, you disgusting drama-hungry degenerates. Let's go to the pig pen and play in the mud. Let's involve ourselves in some drama.
The Absolute State of Nijisanji, Part 6. I believe this is the last
Now,
part.
for this segment, I felt like I wouldn't be doing it
Oh,
justice if I were to talk in behalf of the people that actually got targeted by the copyright strikes.
Yeah, 100%.
So, I have one of them with me right now.
Yep.
One that, despite his controversial reputation, I think would provide some unique and personal insight into the situation.
Okay.
Kyo, take it away.
It's no real secret that most of Nijisanji's drama come from its abundance of talent and the problems that went along with it, whether that be managerial, financial, or reputational, and each of the dramas made them look worse day by day. The Zion termination statement that was worded with little grace and the subsequent details of it made the internal environment of the company seem bad. 3 of Luxium's members snarkily making fun of the AR concert's cancellation announcement, an announcement so poorly worded and executed, Settlin and Pomu had to step in and clarify the truth, making management seem really incompetent not just because of the poor choice of words, but because of the lack of communication with the members.
If the talent has to step in to fix something management fucked up, that does not look good at all, bro.
management adding a liver and misspelled their name, which led to an anti-taking the misspelled name, causing anyone to click on it to be brought to an account that maliciously doxed talents from the company. A mistake they didn't correct for a significant amount of time. Millie's secret group chat, an undertaking that either should not have been allowed or something that was monitored and communicated with other members tightly due to its involvement with 4chaners of all crowds. Yugo's graduation that didn't even seem like a graduation but more of a termination. And now, more recently, the response from Zion Lanza, who not only confirmed a lot of bad speculations that surrounded the company, but also made the internals of the branch look worse than it initially was.
And that's the thing, man. If like, say more people were treated like Zion, more people are going to come out. Like, now they're not under your contract anymore. They could leak some shit and be like, yeah, it wasn't me that put that out. Somebody else did. Like, what can you really do?
There are so many more instances of management screwing up and making the company as a whole look terrible, which led to Nijisanji as a brand being damaged. That in turn made them play damage control, striking my channel and False ID's channel. Of course, this didn't actually work in their favor, considering False and I both got the strikes removed and tons of people revolted against the company. But why did they think it was necessary to do it in the first place? Because they believe False and I are damaging their brand by talking about their mishaps and drama. However, if
you damage your own brand and people talk about
it, take the time to look at the views on our channels compared to the amount of views their tweets announcing them get, it's astronomical. False and I may play a part in informing people, but in no way are we damaging the brand by simply covering mishaps that millions of people already know about. And in their attempt to protect their company's brand image, they made themselves look absolutely worse.
Also, you have no idea 100%. How many times Kyo and I actually had to remake this part, because there was literally new Nijisanji drama every week, it seemed like. More recently, the whole thing where Nijisanji members aren't even allowed to receive their golden play and silver button, literally the physical manifestation of their hard work, and they're not even allowed to hold it physically. It would just be tucked and locked in some case somewhere, only to collect dust and to celebrate Nijisanji, the company's achievements, but not Nijisanji livers themselves.
Versace is he is irate about that, and I think he should.
At this point, all of the drama so far wasn't really even surprising to a lot of people that paid attention. A lot of people actually had some idea that some of these terrible conditions in EN was true. Hints were being given out by the talents. Some of them would even accidentally or even intentionally voice their grievances to the public and confirm some information. So as was mentioned earlier, the dream of being in Nijisanji isn't as grandiose as they made it seem. And while the public doesn't know exactly how many people are being burnt out or feel exploited by the company, we can damn well be sure that quite a significant number of them are. Especially since it seems like quite a few talents aren't having fun in the company as much as they used to. One has to ask, what does Nijisanji stand for? Is it for the freedom of the VTubers? Because we've had quite some issues with that one, don't we? Is it to provide an entertainment space for fans just to enjoy their Oshis? Because that space is getting disrupted seemingly every 2 weeks. Or is Nijisanji solely and primarily just a means to make money? A capitalistic venture whose prestige is a mere mirage to take advantage of the starry-eyed, the passionate, and the desperate. A company that would rather silence its own talents and community members just to maintain their already cracking public image. A means to platform profitable and vulnerable VTubers, but discard those that aren't. At this point, one has to ask the question, what does the name Nijisanji mean to us? I'd like to end.
When I think Nijisanji, I think of unhinged, unsay-so, funny, chaotic moments. And so far, that's what they've still been doing. Granted, Hololive has also had unhinged moments. So, you're right. I don't know.
End this video with critiques that aren't founded on the community. Just personal ones that a lot of people may disagree with, and you're all free to do so. A lot of the Nijisanji VTubers, they don't feel like VTubers anymore. There's little of that magic of VTubing that I used to sense in them. And in terms of criticism, why silence it? There are people looking out for the livers in Nijisanji. People that recognize the problems and want to voice their opinions in hopes of it being addressed. You can't just ignore them, especially if they're being harsh. 4chan offers very little constructive criticism, so don't look at 4chan. Why are they living rent-free in your heads?
Of course.
Look at the comments, look at the community. It's hard to parse through what is considered genuine criticism and just a troll anti. Distinguishing what is considered inflammatory and harsh but fair will be difficult, but I think it's worth sifting through. One doesn't have to agree with everything I said in this video. Some of what I said in this video you'll probably feel isn't valid, and that I just don't have enough context or know the exact happenings inside the company to make such criticism.
I mean, I agree with like 85% of this video. I think this is a great video. I think it's good research, well researched. It's just stuff that we don't really know about behind the scenes, and all we can do is really take it from like the value of someone that, you know, has been terminated or stuff like that. Like, but of course we can all look at it from the outside and see like, hey, not everything is all glamorous. I mean, that should have been the case for a lot of people. It's a big ass company and you're joining in and they already had 200 plus people. Do you really think you were going to be treated like so special unless you brought in a lot of money? Like, it's kind of obvious.
After all, I'm just one guy that talks about random shit about VTubers. But I am also a Nijisanji fan. I am aware that a lot of my points might not be that strong or is too subjective, but I imagine a lot of the points and observations I made also hold water and make sense. And that to me is what matters. Hell, there might be good points and criticism that I failed to mention. This isn't to spark new controversy by bringing up old ones. This is me wanting to talk about this little systematic problem that they have, even if I'm not the one qualified to do it. There are issues here. Lots of them, even. And everyone, including the fans, know it. And while I recognize that there are just some issues that cannot be fixed or is too complicated to untangle, I just hope that the agency and the branch can do what it can. They don't have to change their business model or do a complete overhaul of their goals.
Of course not. And even if they wanted to, shareholders wouldn't even let them. All you can do at this point, at the stage that they're in, like I said earlier, is get the quality. They have the quantity, boost the quality of everything. When it comes either from a new talent, make sure they're qualified, which they have. It said, like you said earlier, they used to be able to join within like 2 weeks, and now it takes them months. And they need to boost the quality when it comes to their merchandise as well. Things that make the fans happy. What makes the fans happy? The talent and the merchandise. Now, what makes the Lyras happy? Management and be able to like do their own thing and like have their words and their creative ideas being brought to life. So if you can make all three of those things happy, the talent, the merch, and the fans, if you can make all three of those happy, you should be good to go. You guys have the funds. But you do have the freaking, what do they call the shareholders. It's hard, man. I'm telling you, it's not easy. When the shareholder says jump, as the person in charge, you have to fucking say how high. Like, that's just how it is because they have the money. They have the keys to the kingdom. It's a big risk to tell the shareholders go away, we're just going to have public funding. It is a huge risk. But if you make everybody happy that actually put a creative or a positive input into the company, into the livers, into the culture of VTubing, then it could work. But it is a huge risk that, of course, a lot of people wouldn't want to pull. Why listen to that? Because if you don't listen to the fan base, eventually they'll leave. If the fan base leaves, shareholders lose money. If the shareholders lose money, they leave anyway. So at the end of the day, it's in the company's benefit to listen to the fan base. But what do I know? I'm just a fucking YouTuber.
But they do have to make the environment better around their talents and address issues like the lack of coordination, the selective enforcement of rules and favoritism, the disagreements between other members that leak out into the public because someone...
And that comes with management.
One was too impulsive and couldn't stay in their lane. The control of information to make sure no more leaks happen. The lack of transparency, the sheer neglect, the lack of respect for the audience's money,
merch,
time, and intelligence, and many more.
Yes.
Again, I hope Nijisanji as a company, EN as a branch, and as a key force in the industry are going to improve. Perhaps NGEN resistance might even be in order too. Because as of right now, even before the Zion dossier, the branch looks like a mess. I'm still going to support my favorite NGEN and Nijisanji livers, and I will for the foreseeable future. But I don't think I can support the company or the branch as it is. And believe me, I would have the same attitude towards even HoloLive under similar circumstances. Right now, this is the absolute state of Nijisanji. And whether it stays this way will be up to them. Hello, thank you for watching this video. I truly appreciate it. So feel free to comment and discuss about the video, whether you agree or disagree with specific takes, or if you even agree at all.
Like I said, I agree with a lot of this video. This video is actually really, 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 really good. And I'm glad I sat and watched it, got to deconstruct it and talk about it with you guys in chat as well. I mean, let's be honest. Nijisanji Ian, right now, they aren't doing great, but they're not doing terrible. They're in a state where they could either flourish or they could fall off. And, you know, what Kodaka was saying, I feel like Kodaka is the type to have her heart on her sleeve. So, like, she says, like, it sucks here, blah, blah, blah. You know, I don't necessarily think she'll, you know, retire, graduate, or whatever. But that's telling where she's like, yeah, this place sucks. Like, she wants it to get better. So, whatever it is to make the talent happy, I think that's what you guys should do. But only time will tell. I hope they do stick around. I do enjoy the content. I think it's fun. I like watching them play games together. I like it whenever they have their moments. I think they sing really well. They have great music, great talented people as the talents. I think they do need to keep moving forward. And I think maybe they could turn it around. Honestly, I really think they could turn it around. But it takes more than just the talents. It takes more than just the fans. It takes the management as well. And unfortunately, it takes the shareholders. But yeah, it's your boy Miss. Comment, subscribe. See you guys on the next one. Peace out.